down to the western wall. No, that's not Al-Aqsa, but it's okay. It's right next door, so it's okay. All right, but we call it the Dome of the Rock. Why? Because there's a rock underneath, and from this rock, there's a tradition. The first tradition is, it's a Jewish tradition, that the creation of the earth happens at this point, okay? It's called in Hebrew Even HaShtiyah, and we find that the tradition is that man was created there and the earth was created there. That's number one. Number two, we have another story. We have a story of a guy named Abraham, okay? For Muslims, Ibrahim, okay? And we have a story where there's a phone call. Abraham gets a phone call, maybe a Skype call, something like this, and God says, Abraham, you're my new friend. I don't know how close we are yet, but let's see. Take your son, the son you love, to this place, and you will sacrifice him. And Abraham says, sounds good, you're God, no problem. He takes his son, okay, according to Judaism, it's Isaac, according to Islam,
Ishmael.
Ishmael,
Yeah.
okay, so just to give both sides of the story. And he will go and he will be ready to sacrifice him. At the last minute, the angel will grab his arm and say, it's all good, you passed the test, okay, don't go any further, your son can live, it's all good. And, okay, and that's one thing. This is, first of all, they're doing this to Isaac at the age of 13. So Jewish people are commemorating this event with Bar Mitzvah. We do it for the males at 13 years old, and it's based on Isaac's age at the time. And for Muslims, they have a holiday called Eid al-Fitr, which is celebrating the same event, but with Ishmael. Okay, so confusion. It's great. All right, so those are a couple of stories. If we fast forward a little bit more, okay, we'll fast forward to about the year 1000. We have King David. King David will come. Will he be allowed to build the temple? Does anyone know? No. King David was a conqueror, he had blood on his hands, and he was not fit to build the temple there if he was to build the temple. Okay, so his son Solomon will be the one to build the temple in about 970 BC. He will build the first temple. So that's big connection to the Jewish people, the first temple. The first temple is destroyed in 586 by the Babylonians, 586 BCE. Okay, and then the Jewish people are returned under the rule of Cyrus, who writes a law or an edict called the Edict of Cyrus, and he will say, no problem, you are my subjects, however, as you are my subjects, you are free to do whatever you want with your religion. Please go home, back from the exile from Babylon, and rebuild the temple. Okay, they will come back and in 536 rebuild the temple. Let's fast forward a little bit more. In about the year, well, the year around 0, we have a guy named Jesus, and he will have a couple of events that happen at the temple. Number one, when he is a child, when he's the newborn, his parents will take him to the temple and offer a sacrifice, okay, to claim him back from God. That's a Jewish kind of tradition. The second event that Jesus will do, he will come as a small teenager, and he will come and he will teach and he will be astonishing everyone. And everyone's looking at him like, wow, this guy's amazing, already when he's this big. All right, and finally, when he's full grown, he will come and he will do his main ministry in Jerusalem. And one of the main events is that he's coming to the temple, he's flipping over tables, he is not happy with what he sees as worship in the temple. And this is the main story. We see Jesus coming to the temple, the second temple, in those times. Another thing that Jesus will do is he will prophesy the temple being destroyed again. Okay, so let's fast forward one more time, or a couple more times. The year 70 CE now. And the Romans will destroy, we spoke about it before, the Romans will destroy the second temple, and it will lay in waste for some years, okay? We will fast forward again, okay, to 638. We have Omar ibn al-Khattab, who we spoke about at the beginning. They will conquer this land, and we will commemorate a night vision, or a night journey that Muhammad will have, okay? It's called Al-Miraj. Okay, and in this vision, he will come on a special horse with wings, and he will come to Al-Aqsa, the furthest point, the furthest mosque. Okay, in the Quran, there is nothing explicit about this spot, but tradition becomes this place. And Muhammad will come, he will have a night vision, he will ascend to heaven, he will sit down with God and Abraham and Moses and some other prophets, and they will discuss prayer and they will discuss different things. He will have a revelation, come down, and according to tradition, it is in this point, okay? And finally, he will go back and return to Mecca to distribute the good news and the revelations that he has, all right? So from then on, we have completed the circle of all the three religions and how they're connected to this point, okay? From the year 638, we see that this building is standing there. It has been renovated a few times, but basically, this building until today is basically the main attraction of the skyline of Jerusalem, okay? We will go down to the Western Wall now for a very brief visit. The Western Wall is basically the western side of the Temple Mount area, okay? Herod, okay, during all this craziness of a time frame, Herod will come and he will renovate the second temple. And he will make it beautiful, and he will build walls around it, okay? And that Western Wall area is a piece of that Western Wall surrounding the Temple Mount. And why is it so special? What's the big fuss? So this piece of this tiny piece of the wall is basically a symbol of hope for the Jewish people, that one day they will maybe have a temple over there. But for now, this is the spot that they can come the closest to offer a prayer, to speak to God, to have a spiritual moment. And it's all about hope and prayer. And that piece of the wall, the Western Wall, that's why it's special. Otherwise, it's a physical wall. But because it symbolizes the hope of a people and what they want to return to, that's why it's special. All right? I think that's it. Does anyone have questions? It's a lot of information.
Is that wall still the part of the remains of the synagogue, the second?